Welcome to Powerhouse with Coach Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.
Hello dear viewer of SSBC Powerhouse with Akuchmake. Today we take a deep dive into the political growing landscape of South Sudan, focusing on the two principal parties central to the 2018 revitalized peace agreement, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, that is SPLM, and the SPLM IO, SPLM in opposition. The ruling SPLM has recently taken a bold step by appointing young leaders to senior positions, signaling a move towards generational change and injecting new energy into the party's leadership structure. Meanwhile, the SPLM IO is grappling with internal fragmentation following escalating tensions in Nasir and Wulang counties. The situation was further complicated by the arrest of the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, on charges of inciting violence against the unity government. In the wake of these developments, an interim leader, Stephen Parkwall, has emerged, though his leadership is being contested by loyalists of Dr. Riek Machar. With all these rapid developments taking place against the backdrop of the slow implementation of the peace agreement, we bring in young political voices to unpack what this means for the country's future. How will these changes impact party cohesion, the peace process, and the path to the upcoming December 2026 election? But first, let's take a brief overview of the peace accord. The revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan of R-Axis was signed on September 12, 2018 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia by the SPLM, SPLM IO, SOA, among others, and civil society, youth and women's group to end the civil war that has erupted in December 2013. The key objectives included ceasefire and security, permanent ceasefire among warring factions, power sharing that led to the formation of the revitalized transitional government of national unity, Artigonu, bringing together President Salva Kiir and first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar. Additionally, institutional reform indicated overhaul of the government, security sector, judiciary and economic, organizing free, fair and democratic elections by the end of the transitional period, establishing mechanisms for truth, reconciliation and healing. While the agreement has succeeded in reducing large-scale violence, its implementation remains slow, especially in the unification of army forces, drafting a permanent constitution and organizing elections, now scheduled for December 2026. So joining me now are political analysts. We have Andrea Mabur, who is political analyst. We have Boboya James Edimon, who is also a political analyst, to analyze the political landscape of South Sudan currently. So welcome to SSBC Powerhouse with Akuchmake.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Just to begin with our question, we have seen recently the SPLM recent reshuffles that was on Tuesday that brought younger leaders into key party position as senior figures step aside. So what do you make of this generational transition within the SPLM top leadership? Let's begin with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think I just want to say that there's been two schools of thought when people saw that there seems to be a bit of acceptance from the high leadership of the SPLM in terms of beginning to think about local leaders or young leaders taking leadership position. This is a good news for many young guys who want to see that SPLM is becoming more younger, but also it's too much worrying for many people who have actually suffered and liberated this country. For example, there has never been consultations within the structure of SPLM to really know who could be the potential person to be in second in command. We do know from the political perspective and from the reading of the constitution of the SPLM is that it's the prerogative of the the chairperson of the SPLM to choose his deputies. That's also correct. But of course, one thing that people don't know is the choice that the president makes, or the choice that the SPLM chairperson makes in terms of choosing who they think could be a potential person in that. So one thing that I really feel that needs to be done is that the lack of democracy within SPLM is something that could bring a lot of disunity, because right now we've seen the leaders who have fought in this country for many years, they went quiet. We don't know what they're planning. I know there are some guesses in the media in terms of people coming to the deputy chairperson of the SPLM, Dr. Bolmel, to sort of say, okay, you're our guy, you're a guy. But it has been like that for many, many years, where people just embrace you because they want to get something from you. But if they don't get something from you, that's when we begin to see the cracks. There's a deeper cracks right now in the SPLM, but those cracks are not coming out more well. In the next few months, a few years to come, that's when things will happen.
All right, let's hear also from Andrea March.
Thank you for having me. I think SPLM party or SPLM as a movement went through a lot of changes since 1983. And what we saw this week, this is a must, because people have been calling for years and years that there must be reform within SPLM. Even leaders who were there, those of Pagana Moom, who were there, who is outside, who was Secretary General, and the rest were calling for reform in the SPLM. And I think this is part of the reform. In Africa, we have so many liberation movements, and SPLA was part of these liberation movements. If you see in South Africa, we have ANC, was led by Nelson Mandela. We have ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, led by Robert Mugabe, NRM in Uganda, led by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. All these liberation movement, they came, but they had challenges in implementing their agenda. And SPLM was part of this. SPLM fought hard for the liberation of South Sudan, but yet it was facing difficulties in state and nation building. SPLM was facing difficulties in transforming itself from a guerrilla movement to a political party that could govern a diverse nation like South Sudan. So I think, of course, there is division as to whether the appointment of someone like Dr. Benjamin Bolmel as a deputy chair was right. We are hearing this in social media and even in SPLM. But Dr. Benjamin Bol, first of all, he is a member of SPLM. He is one of the young leaders of SPLM. And he deserves also to be given chance. Yes, I may agree with him. We may have different opinion, but what will fail him as a deputy of SPLM is not our opinion. What will fail him is when he don't deliver on his promises. So I think it was a right thing from His Excellency President Kir Mayadic to inject new blood into the system of SPLM. We have leaders who have been in SPLM for more than 40 years. And if you cannot deliver in 40 years, and you are in a government, whether you are a minister or you are a deputy or you are a secretary general, for 42 years, and you cannot deliver, I don't think you will be able to deliver even if you are given another 42 years.
So in that regard, March, do you think this is a true generational transition, or is it more of a strategic reshuffling?
I will not call it a generational transition, because every generation has right to be in SPLM and to be in a government. It is just internal arrangements within the party. And I expect, and I do agree with my brother, Boboya, that there is division within SPLM. And we call on SPLM to rally around their leaders so that they can bring peace to South Sudan. Because if there is division in SPLM is not stable. If there is conflict within SPLM, it will reflect itself.
But we have not heard from the SPLM members about the division.
No, we never heard. He brought it up because you can hear it in social media. And that is why I was saying that every SPLM member has a right, including Dr. Benjamin Bol, has a right to be given a chance to deliver.
Yeah, and I think just want to say that when you saw a few years ago, actually until last year, when there was this endorsement rallies going on in the Greater Barkazal, Greater Equatoria. One was supposed to happen in the Greater Upper Nile, but it never happened. If you look, for example, the one of Greater Equatoria, it has always been to please the president, but not really to show that there's a unity within the party. So SPLM has been revolving around the presidency, and Salva Kiir Mayardit, His Excellency, is the only fountain that sort of become the unifier. Right now, there's a lot of heavyweights who want to cause problems, but they feel they have to have the loyalty and the respect to the president. Now, if the president factor is not going to be there, there's going to be a lot of fight within the SPLM, because they look at Bolmel. I like what you say, that Bolmel is a member of the SPLM. But for me, I regard it as somebody who has been a bit of outsider without playing those politics in the party for many years. But the guys who have been there for 40 years, whether doing a good job or dirty job, but they're a member of the SPLM, they are known in the history of their liberation in terms of their contribution.
But some members of the SPLM, they are in different sectors, in economic sector, in development sectors, like the way he was handling the road sector.
He has been viewed as somebody who comes from the private sector, has never been completely
doing development for the SPLM.
No, doing development for the private sector for himself in the name of SPLM, but not contributing as SPLM. Because let me tell you, Bolmel became more known during the implementation of the peace agreement because of ARC and ABMC. He has contributed economically more significant. And even some of the gains that he has gotten is not to be regarded as SPLM gains, because of the gains of the unity government. All the parties, including React March and the rest, are part of that process. But what I want to say is that, as my colleague talked about, it's now up to Bolmel, Dr. Bolmel, to begin to define what kind of leader does he want to become. Is it a leader that builds bridges, or does it a leader that destroys bridges? Is it a leader that reaches out? Because for Bolmel to succeed, he has to reach out to the SPLM IO. He has to reach out to the SPLM in government, which is right under his leadership right now. He has to reach out to the real SPLM under Pagana Mum. And there are also other SPLM, by the OPP and some of the Sao groups. Those are originally SPLM guys. So there must be a strategy of how can we win out, not the old cadres, because we really don't want them to go and win the old cadres. The business for the old cadre is gone. It's the business for the young cadres within those parties. He needs to get them on board and begin to define a vision for SPLM and begin to build a strategy for moving forward. I saw some people say, we know where we're coming from, but we don't know where we're going. So we need to begin to define where are we going as SPLM, because he said very openly that where there's a dysfunction within the SPLM, there's going to be total dysfunction within the whole South Sudan, because it's a party that runs the program in government. And the good news is that Bolmel is a vice president, economic cluster, and also the deputy now within the SPLM. He has to play a significant role, because, I mean, the president now will have to take care of the entire country. but the affairs of the party is going to be taken care of by Balmoil and his cadres. Obviously, we know that there's also a young person who has come in to be a deputy.
Yeah, to go with that
Rosemary.
deputy, now we have seen the recent appointment. There was a lady also,
Yeah.
Mary Apai,
Yes.
as the second deputy. Something that has not been happening before, because if you see the previous top leadership of the SPLM, it was all dominated by the men. So do you see this as a new strategy towards gender inclusivity in terms of building peace?
Yeah, Mary Apai, for many years that I know her, I probably know her for 30 years now in being in politics, being in the army and also in politics. She's good in terms of building, relationships with young women, old women. She's good in terms of even mediating, right? And I know the chairperson of the party, His Excellency President Salva Kiir, knows why she was actually brought in there to help in the mediating the process. She plays a significant role in terms of the gender question, but also to bring diversity within the SPLM as a party. But above all, she's also representing the major political force, which is the Equatorial region, right? But it depends on how she's going to be utilized. If she's just going to be there to fill the token, and then SPLM become a dominance of one or two people who decide in one of the areas and they just come and implement policies within the SPLM, I promise you, SPLM will never be the same moving forward. And I know there's also a lot of disgruntled in also that process.
What do you think of appointing a lady in the top leadership of the SPLM?
Before I answer that, I just want to go back a little bit on the issue of Dr. Benjamin Bolmel. Of course, people are saying that Dr. Benjamin Bolmel is an outsider who came from outside. And this might not be true, because SPLM went to Bush in 1983 to make South Sudan and Sudan inclusive of all. SPLM should not be a property of a few individuals that should be excluding the rest of the members who are on the lower rank of the SPLM. If we are looking at young people as outsider, then the party will be only for the war. Who fought this war? In 1983, these are the young people who fought this war. These are the very young people who fought the war. And Benjamin Ball himself was a Red Army. Because some people think that he was someone who just came from out of blue. He was also has his own contribution. So there is this thought in South Sudan that he is an outsider. If today I cannot be promoted to higher rank because I am younger, then why should I be in that party? Why should I be in that party? Look, for example, give you an example. If you look at France, Emmanuel Macron became a prime minister when he was in his 30s, 39 years old. Justin Trudeau in Canada became a prime minister when he was in his 30s. Look at Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. He was in his 40s. And so many examples. Barack Obama, he became president of the United States of America, the most advanced democracy in the world, when he was in his 40s. And people did not object to, by the way, Obama was not the most senior member in his political party, in his Democratic Party in America. Obama was not the most senior. He was in the low rank. But because he has energy and he has a vision, he was brought up. So I think whether we agree or disagree with someone like Dr. Benjamin Bolmel, he deserves a chance. Not as an SPLM, as he has a right as a citizen of South Sudan to be in any. All
right. We are focusing much on the changes in the SPLM. So what reforms should Dr. Bolmel and his deputies implement to ensure cohesion and sustain unity within the SPLM? You were talking of internal division before. So what reform should they?
So first of all, they have to do something we call a reanalysis. They have to revitalize the party. They have to begin to build real party structures from national level all the way to grassroots and make sure those party structures begin to function. That's number one. And they have to begin to develop a program where all these party structures need to begin to implement. And one of the party program that they need to implement is peace and reconciliation within the party. Introducing democratic processes within the party, internal democracy, and allowing leaders to begin to be filled in those positions. And then Bolmel and the rest of the parties need to begin to work on a proper manifesto, a program for SPLM as a party. And these programs needs to be made public, and every South Sudanese needs to be educated on these programs. These programs should include issues to do with the democracy, how those democracy within the party can end up into the country, committing to the getting a unified army in this country, because that's the role of the political party, to work with the government in implementing reforms to do with the security sector reforms. We need to see programs to do with the robust service delivery. One of the biggest issues, which is a disease in South Sudan, is pandemic corruption. What is the role of Bolmel and SPLM as a party to begin to think about combating corruption and bringing high level of accountability and transparency within the government processes, and then begin to think about service delivery? Because we've seen how much money has been eaten and people are going hungry. I know when Bolmel was brought to government, he was interested to pay civil servants, but there was no money. As I'm talking right now, there's no money in government. They want to try, they want to do something. So it's a good opportunity. That's why when I talk about Bolmel as an outsider, I'm not saying because he has not contributed to SPLM. I'm saying he could bring a new energy and a new thinking to the SPLM.
Yes.
He may not be a very strong advocate of the ideology of SPLM, because I still don't know where the ideology of SPLM is right now, but he may bring some kind of programs that can redefine the ideology of SPLM. So I think those are the few things that I want to talk about. But also, one thing that I also want to talk about is that it's an opportunity for Bolmel to even begin unity or purpose within government, with the SPLM IO, with all these other, which we'll talk about, other parties that are not part of that. I know there's already good news of other parties that begin to align with SPLM, but they should make, it is not just align to SPLM because they want power. They should align with SPLM because there are programs that can be introduced and implemented to bail South Sudan out of the current crisis.
Okay. Now, I think what the new leaders of SPLM need to do is, first of all, to ask themselves the first question that took us to the bush in 1983. We went to bush as people of South Sudan and fought the successive regimes of Khartoum, not to come and fight ourselves again.
So much, we just, to cut you short, we just need the reforms agenda that you think the Dr. Mill and his deputies should implement in the SPLM party.
Of course, the reforms is here. You need to restructure the SPLM, the party. Number two, you need to implement the peace agenda. And when we mean peace agenda, we have to explain what peace is, because we completely misunderstood the meaning of peace in South Sudan. For some politicians, they think peace is about power sharing. And peace is bigger than power sharing. You need to put down a rule of law in South Sudan. You need to disarm the civil populations. You need to build a one unified national army that will pledge allegiance to the constitution of the state. And you need to go for reconciliation. As I told you earlier, we are a diverse country with so many communities. Bring all these people together.
So in that case, what is the future of the SPLM as the ruling party in South Sudan? Can it continue to lead effectively amidst rising expectation and internal change?
It will continue to lead only if it renews itself. The way SPLM have been doing things for the last 42 years was not right. There were challenges. So I think SPLM need to inject new blood and go back to the vision of SPLM and bring peace and reconciliation to South Sudan.
And I want to say that the only way SPLM can be respected and SPLM can be trusted is not because of the guns and buying people. It's by creating programs that people participate in. If they create, for example, economic activities, for example, major road constructions, bridges, hospitals, railways, something like that, the young people can get employment, and they will say, oh, we get employed because SPLM is providing those services, right? So if there are no programs that allows people to participate in, they'll continue to look at SPLM as a party that has bring misery to South Sudan, a party that has made people to become more problematic.
But the government consists of other parties involved, and it is the role of the entire government.
Yeah, but the party that is known, the others are just collaborating with the party. By the way, that's how we define it.
Yes.
It's the SPLM that is number one,
It's the ruling party.
is the ruling party, and the rest are collaborating and cooperating with that party. The leadership is from that party. And then let me tell you, right now, as I'm talking about, before, of course, there were deputies, but those deputies do not have power. Bolmel has the power more than the rest of the other deputies moved for many years, other than Rakmachar before, right? Yeah. So now every eye is on Dr. Bolmel. What will you do? How will you work with the president and the chairman of the party to begin to introduce those programs? Because he's trusted by the president. He's trusted. But for him to also build trust within the rest is by beginning to create programs and positions that can allow people to work. Not filling those positions because, as one of my experts says, about power. It's not about power. Let's leave power aside. Let's just power for development, power for service delivery, power for democratic dispensation, power for addressing violations of human rights, power for making sure that accountability and transparency is enhanced and improved, power to allow structures of government to work. Let me tell you, right now there are only 5 or 2 people within the ministries, ministers that are working. The rest of the ministers are not doing their job. Parliament is dead. Not really dead in terms of the operations, but because they're not been financed. You see, yesterday when the speaker went to speak to the president, one of the reasons is why they're not able to function because there was no money for members of parliament, right? Yes. So SPLM has the opportunity to begin to get resources and allow, even now we're very good because the budget process is going to kick off. So where there's a political will, we'll see changes. Right now, we're looking forward that there's a new leader with a new blood, not only in SPLM, but look as an outsider, but it's going to be in the government, it's going to be in the party. People are rallying around him. They like him. Yes, but they can only like him when he's able to produce results that are required for the South Sudanese.
James has mentioned that currently Dr. Bol is being trusted by the president so far. So what role should the recently removed SPLM deputies played in supporting the new leadership and contributing to national development? Much.
Of course, our leaders like Dr. Waniga, Daniel Wanakut, and engineer Kwalma Nyangju, they fought for this country. And they are our heroes. And I'm sure, I never heard from any of them, not even from Kwalma Nyang or Wanakut or Wani, saying that I will be in SPLM forever. I will be in the leadership of SPLM. They never say that. And I'm sure they are going to support any leader who is coming, whether it's Bolmer or any other person. These are humble leaders. We know them very well. They will support them. But what we need now at the moment is to rally behind these new young leaders. And you were talking about the issue of accountability. Yes, it's one of the issues in South Sudan now. People are talking about mismanagement of our resources. And I think SPLM has to tackle this issue. Direct resources of the country for development, road infrastructure. You pay salaries on time, school, health facilities. These are the things that our people want, so that they gain trust. But SPLM must change. SPLM must reform. SPLM must renew itself. Because if you go to election with the same SPLM that is in the head of the citizen, it will be very difficult for SPLM to win. But I have trust in the new leaders, the 3 deputies. If they are given chance and support, they can deliver.
Dear view of SSBC Power Hours with Akuchmake, we are taking a short break. With me here, we are political analysts, and we are focusing on the electoral process that is scheduled to take place in December. But as it is now, we're focusing on the political landscape in South Sudan currently. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we shall cross to the SPLM IO, that is SPLM in opposition.
Welcome to Powerhouse with Coach Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.
Hello dear viewer of SSBC, welcome back from that short break. Now to proceed, before we took a short break, I had talked that we are going to focus now on the SPLM IO. Currently we have witnessed growing disintegration within the SPLM IO following conflict in Nasir and Wulang counties. Members appear to be divided, some backing Dr. Riek Machar, others aligning with Ambassador Parkwal. What is your current assessment of the SPLM IO? Baboya.
Yeah, I just want to say first, thank you so much about this particular topic, a very interesting topic. For many years, I've been studying this SPLM IO. I know 5 things from that party. One is there's too much of desperation. And this desperation in terms of everybody wants to become a leader within that particular, I don't call it a political party, I call it peace party. Number 2, is this arrangement of defining the party as one family party is actually made a lot of people get confused. But the good news is for SPLM is that so long as Riek Machar is there, they still believe SPLM is intact. Because I think one thing that brought SPLM together was that the character of Dr. Riek Machar is somebody who can hold the president accountable, and therefore there will be reforms, right? They've seen that it's not happening. But when they see Riek Machar and His Excellency the President coming together, many South Sudanese believe there's a peace. And I promise you, when you see the President leaving the country and Riek Machar going to the airport to send him off, and they posted on social media, everybody feel happy, right? Peace is being built in South Sudan. But now, there's a invisible hand, I don't want to say where it's coming from, of dismantling this SPLM party, SPLM IO party, so that it's become like distorted. And Ambassador Pal take that as an opportunity. The bad part of that is that they've never learned anything called lessons learned. Because even Taban Dengai tried this, it never worked. Riek Machar was in South Africa, but he came back and became the first vice president. So right now they are, I don't know if you call the Intigano has defined the SPLM party into 3. There's SPLM in detention. There's SPLM in conflict with the law. There's SPLM in the run, and there's SPLM in government. And they say the SPLM in government is PAL. PAL is not in government because PAL is just individuals who are still loyal to the SPLM that is actually in conflict with the law, as somebody talked about. So all these things that you see are just to create confusion. And let me tell you this, to be honest with you, from the political perspective, analytical perspective, if I were to be the president and I am giving power to the young people within the SPLM itself, why also allowing Riek Machar to be in the SPLM and playing a factor, right? I would want to get a younger guy also from there to take leadership, right? So that I leave the country with young leaders, right? But the issue here is that if they would have maybe called each other and say, can you step down? I want to step down and let us leave the young leaders to take this country. Maybe they would have, something organic would have happened. But that was not what happens in South Sudan. But I want to say this before I submit to my colleague is that the moment and the more we see this conflict, and we've seen over the last 2 days, letters been coming out, I dismiss this, no, you don't have no power to dismiss me and things like that. This kind of fighting has paralyzed the agreement implementation. Even the fight in the SPLM itself, I promise you, in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, so long as there's no proper sanity within the SPLM, there will never be the proper implementation of the peace agreement. So right now, the peace agreement is like on my table. It's not been implemented. And even for us to talk about reforms for elections, it's not going to happen. Because we've seen, for example, there's no leadership within the SPLM anymore, SPLM IO, but a bit of leadership from the SPLM. But then what happens within the presidency is something that's not happening right now. The Council of Ministers, if it's going to be happening, is not going to be discussing about reforms and taking this peace agreement forward.
Much.
Of course, it's very unfortunate to see the internal division within SPLM IO, because SPLM IO, when they fought the government in 2013, they were introducing themselves as people who want to make reform in South Sudan, to transition South Sudan to democracy. But that democracy is not being reflected within the institutions of SPLM IO led by Dr. Riek Machar. And I do agree with my brother Duboya that there is a power struggle. Even when Riek Machar was still outside, there are groups. And most of the people now in the government, they were SPLM IO. The agreement was signed in 2015, 2016, war broke out in J1, and some SPLM members, they decided to remain in Juba. Some fled the country, and those who were in Juba, they were claiming to be SPLM IO, and later they joined the government, using the ticket of SPLM IO.
Yes.
And now, even those of PAL, they will join the government using the ticket of IO, but IO will still be there with Dr. Riek Machar. This is a dilemma. What is this telling us? We are in South Sudan, we are being confused by politicians who are affiliated to communities and tribes. And the entire country is being held hostage by these politicians. There is no clear agenda from all these parties. That is why I was saying, if the agreement, the revitalized peace agreement, were to be implemented in letter and spirit, we would not have been here now. Probably we would have been having a government, a democratic government elected by the people. But the election never happened, because there was a division last year as to whether election be held or not. Because people thought maybe the atmosphere, the political atmosphere was not conducive for a free and fair election. So, as long as the division is there in SPLM IO, it will be very difficult for us to implement the peace agreement.
Recently, we have seen the loyalists of Dr. Riek Machar. They have rejected the leadership of interim SPLM IO, that is PAR, arguing that the party has not officially changed leadership and labeling PAR's appointment as illegitimate. However, on the other hand, we have seen PAR was elected by a few members of the political bureau of the SPLM IO. So do you believe the SPLM IO is falling apart?
I don't call it like PAR has been elected. I mean, from the legal, I'm not a lawyer, but I understand the law. It's like somebody is in the hospital and you go and begin to take the family of that person because someone is vulnerable. That's basically what PAR did. And if you read the constitution of the SPLM IO, it talks about majority of people in the political bureau. There are only 3 members of political bureau against 9 or 13 of those. So, if I was PAL, I would have convinced the political bureau members, right? If I want to bribe them, whatever, $2 million, $3 million, and all of them accept, right now, PAL will be the legitimate the leader. But it's not the leader right now, because the leader is Riek Machar. The peace agreement is very clear, and that's the reason why when we are negotiating the peace agreement, I was not in Addis Ababa, but we have civil society people who are providing inputs to the process. The reason why in the peace agreement, 2 people were named by name is His Excellency President Salva Kiir by name and Riek Machar by name.
Yes.
So long as those 2 names exist in the peace agreement, Riek Machar is the de facto leader of SPLM IO and is the first vice president. And that's why it's hard for the legal minds to even talk with the president to say, okay, let us get rid of Riek Machar. If they get rid of Riek Machar, you've get rid of the peace agreement. And the peace agreement is only the framework that has provided legitimacy to this current government. So what happened is that if I was to talk about what's the way forward in here, and I'm happy.
We are yet to reach
Yes.
the way forward. So he's talking of Dr. Riek being the only chairperson, but when he was elected, they said he's an interim chairperson. So once Riek case is over, he will be able to take back his seat. So what does this mean for the future of the main opposition party now that there is division in their party?
I don't see any future. I just see SPLM as fragmented and divided.
Oh.
There will be no future because even if you are elected, you cannot just say I am interim leader of this party because there are other members of that party who are against you. I thought maybe the SPLM IO would have been intact until the case of Dr. Riek Machar is settled. They should not hurry on appointing leaders. But this confusion was created by the peace agreement itself. This peace agreement, some people are saying that it was meant not to be implemented.
Yeah.
It was meant not to be implemented. And I can tell you, the peace agreement put us in a very difficult situation, in a state of no peace and no war. You cannot go back and you cannot go forward. This is where we are now. And I was sharing with him earlier before the talk show that the question that should be asked now is not to encourage leaders of South Sudan or even the peace partners to implement the agreement, but to ask them, to ask the political class in South Sudan, are you still interested
In the peace agreement.
in the peace agreement or not? Because I don't see a way that the peace agreement could be implemented in 10 years. I was in Addis Ababa in 2014 when they started the negotiation. Until now. It failed in 2016, revitalized in Khartoum in 2018, and here we are. So our hope is in the restructuring of SPLM, the mainstream SPLM. If those of Dr. Benjamin will really restructure SPLM and rally support behind them, I think this country could emerge out from this conflict.
Yeah. But also you need to have a political party to go for election with. Because even if you have SPLM more stronger and there's no opposition, then you don't need to have elections, right? Because you have to compete with somebody else. So, and those conditions, you need to make those conditions more viable.
My brother, but if the other party is weak or is not ready for election, we will not stop election, of course. Whoever is ready will go for election.
Yeah.
Okay, talking of election, we have seen now as both parties usher in the new leadership. We have seen the interim chairperson of the SPLM IO, and we have seen the SPLM has just changed the deputies. So what steps should they take to ensure stability, party unity, and progress in governance as we prepare for the election that is scheduled already for December 2026? What do you think?
I would tell the following. One, SPLM has a significant role, so long as His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit is there, to help in mediating the crisis of other political parties. One step that I would encourage as South Sudanese who love this country more dearly is, can we conclude this investigation of Riek Machar? If Riek Machar is found guilty, let's throw him into the jail or take him to the court. If he's not guilty, let's get him out and Salva Kiir come out and write a decree to pardon him.
Yes.
We come back and unite as one party within the peace agreement, and we sit down and discuss a program for the next 15 months. What needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
This program needs to be written well. Number one, we need to do this. Unification of the army. We give ourselves 3 months. We need the constitution making process. It's 8 months. We need to give ourselves money. We do that and we cost that. We give this money to the institutions. Let them begin to do their work. by the July, August next year, we have the constitution in place, we have unified army in place, we have the census conducted, the constitution has already been delimited. Because if the sector reform is made, I promise you, the entire South Sudan is going to become clean. I promise you. The entire South Sudan in the bush will become clean, because everybody who's in the bush will come back home and begin to get some resources and be integrated to the communities. South Sudan becomes more cleaner, and people will begin to go about their activities. And then, by doing that, the other parties will begin to organize themselves. If the parties do not want to go for elections, obviously SPLM will then go and say we're running the elections. Yes. If they find out that everybody doesn't like the other parties, then they become more unopposed, right? Yes. Then we have ended the transition. We begin to build a new democracy in this country. This is the only alternative to that process. But the problem is our leaders are not interested. They talk about elections. They're not interested in elections because they'll be thrown out. I promise you.
What step should they take?
Yes, they will be thrown out. What I want to talk about here is, and it's a very important point, I still have hope in SPLM in moving this country. Yes, we talk about peace, we talk about reconciliation, we talk about so many things. But the problem of South Sudan is in our mindset. Is in our brain. First of all, we need to define what we mean by peace in South Sudan. And I would like to see the new blood injected in SPLM, the like of Dr. Benjamin Wall, to try to change the mindset of people in South Sudan. One, for us, what is a government? What do people want in South Sudan? What kind of government do people want? People want a government that speaks to the needs of its citizens, a government that is responsive to the needs of its citizens. But the kind of government, the way we are trying to bring peace in South Sudan was wrong. We thought that for us to have peace, we bring Boboya from his tribe, we bring Andrea from his tribe. Government has become an association of tribes. And this is what we don't want to see in South Sudan in the next few years to come. If you were to go to government Boboya, you must go there on merits. Not because you are representing a Dinka or a Nuer or Shuluk or Zande. You go there as someone who will do something for people of South Sudan. That is why people are fighting, say, I don't have someone in the government. Ana mind dissolve Hukuma. Can ana mind dissolve Hukuma na mishakil.
Much.
And government is not association
of tribes.
This is very important. This will solve problem of South Sudan. It's not association of tribes. We have to make this clear. We should stop appeasing warlords who are fighting in different parts of South Sudan. People are being killed. Imagine now, cattle riding in Jongule, in Baragazal, people are being shot. These are thieves. And government will come and bring them for reconciliation. How do you reconcile criminals? These are criminals. You don't reconcile criminals. If they want to reconcile, they reconcile in the jail. This is where they belong. So we have a misconception about peace. So we would want this time to change our mindset. Government is for people who are fit. Is not a representation of tribes.
All right, March, we are winding up. Do you see these recent changes in both SPLM and IO will accelerate the implementation of the peace agreement in the country?
I see two things. It's going to slow the implementation of the peace agreement, but at some point it's going to, if the leaders work well, it's going to accelerate. And it will only accelerate, for example, if Dr. Benjamin Bolmel begin to come up with a new spirit. I warned Dr. Bolmel when he was appointed the vice president, when he began to talk about. I mean, first of all, he talked Dinka, and I said no, but that's not leadership, because not every South Sudanese speak Dinka. We have 64 tribes. Then he said, no, I was just speaking that because there's a particular message I want to pass out. But if he's begin to create a new strategy of unifying people, as you said, and do not, first of all, you need to work to mend the social fabric, and also begin to say, I am not a leader of one tribe, I'm a leader for all the tribes, so that people, because you need to get a political base. You can only succeed if a politician you have a political base. So he needs to up his political base by making sure everybody becomes part of his journey. And then, as I said, and I'm still emphasizing to here, he has to reach out to the other political parties and help them to unite them. Without that unification, there will never be any new energy.
Do you think
to
those
that.
political,
then the last aspect
other political parties will listen to him?
If he put himself as,
because he's in different party.
No, come on. These guys in the hotels, they drink, they eat together. They know what they're doing, but only when they come out, they look like they're different political parties. I promise you. That's what Dr. Ragmajanatha said. People come to me at night, we discuss, we eat, but when they come and say, don't tell the president that we have been together, right? So let them use that strategy to come together. And then the second thing I want to talk about is, this is an opportunity for Bolmel for two things to do. One is for him to clean himself as a charismatic and a guy who can lead this country. And he then needs to work with the international community to clean himself so that the sanctions are lifted. And I want to bring this example. The president of Syria was sanctioned by America, European Union, and the rest of the countries. Yes. But he came with a program that resonates with Americans, resonates with the European Union and the other countries, right?
Yes.
Do you know what happened to 2 weeks ago? The Americans have lifted the economic sanctions and the European Union have lifted the economic sanctions, right? Money is flowing into Syria now. The banks are now open. The safes are working. Bolmel has the same opportunity to work with Americans, to work with the British, to work with the European Union, to work with the African Development Bank and the World Bank and the rest, to begin to attract them to come to South Sudan and begin to invest in this country, because he says he's a de facto leader. But if he doesn't do that in the next few months to come, there will be a lot of work. Because right now, there's a break. But the mistrust is not only about the political parties. There's also mistrust between the international community and our own leaders. But there's also, they feel like, now we have a young guy like Dr. Bolmel, he can do a good job. Because he's done a lot of few reforms within the last few months. He should do it in SPLM or he should do it in the government. Because then we could see that something better is happening. And therefore, the international community should come and begin to invest in this country. This is the only way we can bail this country out. Without that, it will be the same story until the end of our life in this country.
What should the parties do to speed up the implementation of the
the parties should put South Sudan first above their narrow political interests. That is number one. And number two, SPLM should rally behind Dr. Benjamin Bolmel. And the people of South Sudan should rally behind the new deputy chairperson of SPLM, Dr. Benjamin Bolmel. I agree with you. The president of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, was labeled as a terrorist. He was a terrorist. And the United States of America put $10 million
on his head.
Yeah. And now he's a good friend of America. And it happened because the region was behind Syria. The Saudi Arabia.
We are winding up.
Yes.
What should the electoral institution do to speed up?
To speed up, we need, first of all, to disarm the civil population, unite the different armed groups in the country under one unified national army that would pay allegiance to the constitution of South Sudan.
All right, dear viewer of SSBC Power House, we have come to the end of our discussion. With me here were political analysts, Andrea Mabur, who is also a political analyst, and Baboya James Edimon, a political analyst. They were analyzing the current political situation in the country and the future of this electoral process that has been scheduled for December 2026. That's all we have for you on behalf of the team. I am Akuch Maker, and we thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Powerhouse with Akuch Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.